Now let's look at the mid-sized church. This is the most pressured size church in our denomination right now. And the reason is that if someone attends a very small church, they understand that if they participate there, they may not have everything programmatically that a larger church would. It may be so small there's not a full Sunday school or not multiple choirs, maybe not a youth program or something. But when people either already attending or they visit for the first time a church and they look out and they see 100 or more people there, then they expect the full Sunday school, and they expect the youth program, and they expect a good music program, and they want to know about your Holy Week services and about Christmas Eve services and all those things. In fact, people will bring to the mid-sized church all the expectations they would bring to a large membership church, except the mid-sized church has many fewer human and financial resources to address those needs. So it's a size church that has been caught in some ways on that. And as I've thought about that, the mid-sized church probably has to make sure that it is addressing the basic expectations people have of churches at least adequately. That there is the children's ministry, and there is a youth ministry, and there is a music ministry and all. It may not be the greatest, but you've got to address it adequately. Then bring to that something distinctive out of your own DNA, out of your own heritage. Maybe it's one of those that you do really well. Or maybe there's a certain direction of your worship, or a certain community engagement, or a certain commitment to mission, or a certain commitment to the neighborhood, or something that causes you to stand out and that people are captivated by that energy. Now, the small churches have been the most common Protestant-sized churches in the United States, and small churches have not only been prevalent in the United States, they've been prevalent from the beginning of Christianity, including in biblical times. And you're very fortunate for the stability that you have generally among smaller churches in this district. It's far more stability than is occurring denomination-wide. But the churches, the smaller churches that are running into difficulty are those that are no longer multi-generational. You see, a small church can stay vital generation after generation if it's multi-generational. Even thinking about the small congregations in the Bible, they were multi-generational. And so that is as much a factor as sheer numbers sometimes there. I would encourage you in all churches, and particularly in smaller churches, set some goals. In smaller churches, small gains can make a lot of difference. Just think about how different it is to have in the congregation one young person as opposed to having 3 or 4. Or many, you can think of other cases where that with some modest improvement, it makes it likely that you may reach other people. Set goals. Don't be afraid of setting goals. Don't be afraid of numbers. Because just think about it. When you focus on numbers, who benefits? People. People. Here's an example. Here's a church. Used to have far more children than you do now. You know there's still lots of children around, but now you have 10 children. But since there's so many children around, and since your children have gone down in numbers, so you set a goal in the next year. We will do our ministry to children in such a way so that a year from now, we have at least 15 children in the ministry of our church. Well, let's say the trustees probably figure they're going to have to get the nursery in better shape. Parents today are not going to leave their children somewhere where it looks like a lot of lead paint around and light fixtures hanging from the ceiling. They're not going to do it. So the trustees get to work. And then you realize you've got all these children grouped together over too many, the age span's too great. You're going to really have to divide them up. And you know, you've got people teaching and you've never offered them any training, so you get some training. And you need to get out and pass out some literature. You need to meet some people. You need to get to the trailer park. You need to go to that apartment complex and all, and you do all those things. And let's say in the next year, not only did you reach 15, you've got 20 children. Now, that focusing on numbers that led you to improve the facilities, improve the class structure, improve the training, who benefited from that focus on numbers? People. The children, both the children who would have been there if you did nothing, and the children who were there who would not have been. The children and their parents, they benefited. They didn't even see what happened in the back room. They didn't see the trustees working on the nursery. They didn't see the training. They didn't see the printing of flyers. But they received the benefits from it, you see. So don't be afraid to set goals. And then pay attention. Think of paying attention as a spiritual discipline. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. Not only how many attend worship, but who's attending worship. Now, I was saying this at a gathering of all small membership churches, and they really pushed back. They said, do you know what it would take for us to keep up with everybody who attends every Sunday? We don't have any staff. We all are volunteers. I said, well, maybe you have a point. But tell me, since you don't have any staff and you're all volunteers, what in the world do you do with the offering? What do you mean, what do we do? I said, well, they said, well, we count it. I said, oh, okay. So you count it and you get a total and you put it in a deposit bag, take it. No. You see, we write down who gave the money. We put the date and who. Oh, you do. Yeah, and then we prepare a deposit. I said, now, I know you don't have any staff, you're all volunteers. You do this like once a month. Oh, no. Every week. Oh, really? That's impressive. And you do this with no staff, all volunteers? Yeah. All I'm saying is, if you count the money, count the people. If you know who gave the money, you know who's sitting in the pews. Now, I went on to say, I said, most of my ministry was spent in churches where all I had to do after church was over was have a clipboard with a list of names and check them off. I said, you've got a half dozen folks, any one of which could do that for you. I ran into a man on the street one day, and he said, oh, preacher, I know I haven't been to church for 2 or 3 weeks. I said, it's actually 7. But here's a church that was in that group, and they took this on. Their identity was, there are 22 of us, because that's generally how many people they'd have on a Sunday. They discovered, after tracking this just 1 month, that there were 75 different people who made up those 22 people. They never had thought of themselves as a church with 75 folks. They were able to double their attendance by paying attention, working on who participates in worship, some strategic pastoral calling, some other things. They doubled it, paying attention.